I am Adam, and this video is going to teach you the rules of Ark Nova. Well, it's not going to teach you every rule of Ark Nova. The purpose is for you to watch this video while some experienced player, your teacher, is setting up the game. And this video has everything you need to start playing, and the rules that aren't explained here will not screw you over because you didn't know about them at the start of the game. Playing the game is the best way to learn, and this video will explain just enough for you to play the game, so if you have questions, ask your teacher. With that being said, here's Ark Nova. Ark Nova is a game about making a zoo, and also about helping Mother Earth. There are two ways of scoring VP in this game, appeal and conservation, and they're on opposing tracks. So appeal starts here, and as you get more appeal, you go around the track. Conservation starts here, it's this green one, and as you get more conservation, you go around the track. At some point, your markers are going to meet in the middle, and when that happens, that will trigger the end of the game. Appeal is called tickets sometimes, and the main way you get appeal is by putting animals into your zoo. Conservation is green, and the main way you get that is by backing conservation projects. Also, one conservation is roughly worth about 3 appeal. There is another unique mechanic in this game that involves action strength. So, whenever you take an action, you're going to choose whatever action you have, and that's going to happen at whatever strength that the action is at on your track. You're going to do the action at that strength, and then it's going to go down to 1, and everything else is going to slide up to fill in the gaps. So, in a perfect world, you're doing everything at strength 5, but there's going to be a lot of times where you're going to sacrifice the strength of the actions in order to do the actions in the order that you want. Let's talk about animals. If doing well in Ark Nova was a meal, animals would be the meat of that meal. No, you aren't eating the animals. What kind of monster are you? In any case, you need 3 things in order to have animals in your zoo. You need animal cards, you need enclosures for your animals, and you need to play that animal. And 3 of your actions are for those 3 purposes. And let's talk about them. The first one is the cards action. This action lets you draw cards from the deck. How many cards you draw depends on the strength of your cards action. If you have to discard a card, it doesn't have to be one of the cards you drew. You can also take a strength 5 cards action to snap any card from the row instead of drawing from the deck. And that's what this folder icon is under strength 5. So the row is 6 cards here that are available to all players of the game. And if you choose, instead of drawing cards from the deck, you can snap one of those and just put it in your hand. Next is the build action. You can build an enclosure up to the size of your build action strength onto your map. Building always costs $2 for each size that you build. So a size 3 enclosure costs 6, a size 1 costs 2. Stuff you build can't go over rock or water spaces, but sometimes it cares about being adjacent to rock or water spaces. You have to build things adjacent to what you already have in your zoo, and if you cover a spot on your map that has a placement bonus, like these $5, then you get that bonus. Kiosks and pavilions, this is a kiosk, are size 1 buildings. They give you little bits of income or appeal, but they don't hold animals. Don't worry about that until you think about upgrading your build action. You'll be fine just building regular enclosures until that happens. Next is the animals action. You can play up to as many animals as the strength of your action allows. So strength 5, you can play up to 2 animals. Strength 2 through 4, you can play 1 animal. And, don't take animals at strength 1. It doesn't do anything. To play an animal, you will pay the money that the animal costs for putting it in your zoo. You'll flip your enclosure to show that that enclosure is occupied by an animal. You get some appeal for your animal, along with maybe some other effect. You also get some icons. Most animals have a continent icon and a species icon. In general, you actually care about more these icons than the effects, but there are some big animals out there that have some pretty good big effects that are a big deal. Some animals have a water or rock requirement. Some animals have other requirements, other icons that you have to play in your zoo in order to play these animals. Some animals go into special buildings. This one has a reptile house along with the size 5 up top there. I would say you don't really have to worry about that right now. I should mention that petting zoo animals have their own special enclosure, which is a petting zoo that's only good for having petting zoo animals, and they can only go there. Let's talk about sponsors. If doing well in Ark Nova was a meal, sponsors would obviously be the potatoes. That makes sense. You draw sponsor cards from the deck just like animals. The deck is about 60% animals, 30% sponsors, and 10% something else that I haven't talked about yet. When you take the sponsor's action, you get to play a sponsor's card up to the cost of whatever strength action that you took. There are some sponsors that cost 6. This one. By the way, there are X tokens. You can use those to increase the strength of your action. So you can take an action of strength that's above 5. And that matters for these sponsors. Some sponsors have requirements. Some sponsors have special buildings that you put on your map. Some sponsors have icons. In general, sponsors give you extra goodies or let you break rules. They're pretty great. The yellow box with a lightning bolt is something that happens immediately. The purple box with the hand is something that happens whenever you take income. And the brown box with the egg timer is endgame scoring. You can also take the sponsor's action to get money equal to the strength of the action instead of playing a sponsor card. All right, now let's talk about association. Your association action is the main way that you get conservation and some other stuff. If doing well in Ark Nova was a meal, association would be vegetables. Conservation is green, and so are a lot of vegetables. But also, if you don't get conservation, you're going to lose. Just like in life, if you don't eat your vegetables, you're going to die. So, this is the association board. Don't worry about the pink stuff yet. To take the association action, you have to have a worker. This is a worker, and you can get more over the course of the game. You'll get your workers back when income happens, but if you don't have a worker, you can't take the action. You can take an association action that costs as much as the strength of the action that you took. So let's look at these. At 2 costs, you can get 2 reputation. I haven't talked about what reputation is yet, and it's not a huge deal. Just know that reputation makes it easier for you to get cards from the row. At 3 costs, you can get a partner zoo. Partner zoos count as a continent icon for whatever continent you pick. And they also reduce the cost of animals you play that have that continent by $3. Your partner zoos will go here, your universities go here. At 4 cost, you can get a university. Universities can give you some reputation, but they're also the only reliable way to get research icons, which some cards require. And one of them increases your hand size limit, which is a thing we'll talk about later. You get some goodies for covering up these spots on your map. In general, whenever you cross a point on a track, like here or here, and there's an icon there, you get some goodies for crossing that. At 5 cost, you can back a conservation project, and this is the main way that you score conservation points. If you choose this for your association action, you can back any available conservation project, as long as you meet the requirements for it. These are the base conservation projects. These are going to be different every game, and they care usually about you having a lot of some kind of continent or species icon. These are available to all players, so you'll want to, over the course of the game, make sure you're looking for cards with these icons so you can back these conservation projects. Some cards in the deck are also conservation projects. That's the other 10% that I was talking about earlier. You can play a conservation project from your hand, as long as you meet the requirements of it, but once you do that, it will be available for other people to use as well. Unlike workers, which don't block other people, they really only block you, backing a conservation project blocks other people from taking that same conservation project at that same level. You can only back one level of a given conservation project each game. But when you do back a conservation project, in addition to getting a bunch of conservation, you also get one of these fabulous bonuses from your map. These are really good bonuses, so backing conservation projects even early on, even if it's for less conservation, can be very good. It frequently is. There is one more mechanic left, and that is the break. If Ark Nova is a meal, this is the drink. Specifically, this drink is coffee. This is the break track. It's shared by all players. When we get coffees, we advance the coffee token, like this, and when it gets to the end, we all take a break. What happens when we take a break? It means a few things. First, everyone gets to take their income. By the way, your income comes from your appeal. The more appeal you have, the more income you get. So you want to get lots of appeal, especially early, so you can have more money to do things. You get to take your workers back from the association action. Everyone discards down to 3 cards in hand. That is not very many cards. It is hard to hold cards for a long time in this game. But remember that university. That increases your hand size limit down to 5 instead of down to 3. For your first game, It's a pretty good idea to get that. It's going to help you a lot. Also, some cards get flushed out of the row and then replaced with cards from the deck. At some point, you're going to run out of money. The break is how you get more money. Here are the things that make more coffees. First, when anyone ever takes the cards action, we get 2 coffees. Second, if someone takes the sponsor's action and chooses not to play a sponsor but instead gets the money, then we get coffees equal to the strength of that action. That's it. There is no other way to get coffees. These are the things that move the game forward. In general, you should try to play sponsor cards when you can, but sometimes you can shoot yourself in the foot by playing a sponsor card when what you really needed to do was to get money and trigger the break. The person that you're playing the game with, your teacher, should keep an eye out for this and make sure you don't do it. So, we're ready to start the game. At the start of the game, you're going to look at 8 cards. You're going to pick your 4 favorite to keep for your starting hand. In addition, you're also going to have 2 final scoring cards. About halfway through the game, you're going to have to choose one of these, discard the other one, and at the end of the game, you are going to get some points for doing well in whatever you decided you wanted to do this game.